When did you get back, Mark?
Got back the night before last.
Have you had much sleep?
I've been having restless sleep, in fact. I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about what needs to be done next, and thoughts that I should communicate to the team that's currently there, thoughts about some of the patients that I left, wondering what might have happened to a whole variety of patients that were awaiting various therapies and other surgeries. Nothing in my life has come close to this experience. I've been involved in some humanitarian efforts, Katrina, 911, but I've never seen the degree of injuries, damage, and long-term effects on a people than I've experienced in Haiti.
As your mind processes what you experienced, what do you think of?
I think of how broken Haiti is, and I think of some of the treatments that might be available to them if they were in the United States, and how I felt paralyzed in so many instances where there were cures, there were things that could be done to prevent complications from injuries, but the resources weren't there. And it's a very sobering and sad feeling of the reality of treating patients with limited resources, working with extremely limited means in an austere environment with such severe injuries.
And yet in your posts and the posts from folks from CRUDEM and others is that you get the sense that people really experience making a profound difference.
I think if we weren't there, many more would have died. We had 300 or so patients stuffed into 2 schools that the government gave us. And at the same time, we did have a limited number of antibiotics and pain medication. And we would round till 2 or 3 in the morning, giving patients necessary antibiotics, cleaning wounds, giving them pain medications, which clearly did make a difference. While we certainly lost a lot of lives, and every night we would wake up after a few hours of sleep and hear that one of our patients had died. And all of this was so difficult for us, especially since they were mostly young patients. We realized that had we not been there, that many more would have died. And I really think that really gave us additional energy to continue. The initial phase was certainly search and recovery and treating the most acutely injured, and that is basically identifying those with med tags as to who needs to be evacuated within the first few hours, days, and actually weeks. And so what we saw over a period of time was an evolution of the type of patients that we would see transferred to us. Now, we were located in a fairly fully functioning hospital about 70 miles north of Port-au-Prince. It was largely unaffected by the earthquake, and so its infrastructure remained intact. And so when word got out that we actually had capability as well as lots of volunteer personnel, trauma surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, anesthesia, etc., we started to get acute injuries. And when I say acute injuries, these are some serious injuries that were still 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days old. We had open fractures with severe secondary infections. We had burns that still came to us. We had significant head injury and spine trauma. And we were doing our best just to keep up with the immediate treatment of those patients. And after the first couple of weeks, we started seeing patients who now needed more secondary treatment, those who required debridement of wounds, those who required washouts, those who required some revision of the initial treatment, which many times was an amputation. And our focus became on those patients. And as I left there just a couple of days ago, we continued to treat those type of patients, but at the same time we then started focusing on physical therapy, preventing complications, getting patients up, and even trying to repatriate the patients to Port-au-Prince. We saw at least 30 to 40% children, many of whom were without their parents, and we didn't get around to focusing on returning them to Port-au-Prince to join families or relatives if they still had them.
Was it hard to leave?
It was very difficult to leave because there's so much more to do. And as you embed yourself in this medical mission, you get sucked so deeply into the vortex. You have a better understanding every day of the needs. You're better equipped to deal with the day-to-day logistics. And you know that you're an important component to the team. Everybody there is an important component. But I think what's really wonderful is that we've had staggered teams. And so I do feel very reassured that the 2 or 3 or 4 teams that have come since I've lost already are doing a phenomenal job keeping this effort going. The people of Haiti are very resilient. They're very stoic, and they give everything to their fellow Haitians, and the families that were always at the bedside. They were caring for total strangers. These were volunteers in the community that acted as surrogate family for pure strangers, and they were there day and night. They would comb their hair. They would wash their body. They would help change some of their dressings. They would hold their hands when they were in pain, and they would seek us out to let us know when something wasn't right. And it was an amazing display of compassion that I've never seen before. What's prominent in my mind right now is the need to keep this front and center. The ongoing needs, resources, personnel, equipment, supplies, etc., are going to continue for many months. And what I'd hate to see is this initial humanitarian effort start to slide. The needs are going to stay with us for several months, and my whole goal is to make sure that we continue to assist over the next few months. It was a heart-wrenching, heartwarming, heartbreaking experience, and I think I will be profoundly impacted by this for the rest of my life, honestly. It's a real emotional adventure, and it gives you a whole new profound respect for what we do as physicians. I think when we all go into medical school, we have these ideals that we want to help people, that we want to make people better, we want to improve the lives of others. And we take the Hippocratic Oath, and we're very idealistic. It's just these type of experiences that make you feel whole again. It really brings that into context. It really brings it into focus. And I highly recommend this type of experience for all healthcare personnel.